Howdy folks. Today I want to talk about the Sparkos op-amp. This little rig right here is my favorite and best rig for in-ear monitors that I own, and it kind of just happened by random accident. So for the Sparkos op-amp, I basically was looking on the internet and I did all kinds of research. I was rolling op-amps in this X Duo. It's got a little socket in here for rolling op-amps, and I thought to myself, man, I'll find the best op-amp in the entire universe. That's what I'll do. So I looked on the internet forever. Turns out there's a guy out of Colorado in America. His name is Andrew, and he's got, he makes these special op-amps, right? And they measure near the best you can find anywhere in the world. And obviously this, in terms of an op-amp, this is one side, the top, and the bottom is left and right, one of the two. I'm not sure which. But in any case, this is a lot larger than a little tiny chip op-amp, which I probably should have got on video, but you probably have seen those little tiny things. So this is much larger, and it has, we call it discrete components. So that's a lot of components that match the circuitry or do, exceed the specifications of circuitry in a chip op-amp. So that's really cool. So I arrived on this thing. I call it my Big Mac stack, or my friends kind of coined it that. And so I ordered this, and I had to solder it all together. It was like $165. Ordered it directly from SparkosLabs.com. Guy, like I said, Andrew, I actually talked to him on email, and he said, yeah, I think that should work. And so, I ordered it up and soldered it in here. Now, back in those days, that was like a year and some ago, I just slid the case off this X Duo 05 Plus, right? I just slid it backwards and then socketed that in there. But the problem is that, let's just pretend that you're not paying attention, and, your headphone cable is like, it gets wrapped around your, and then you pull it, and this thing will absolutely explode any kind of headphone. Not just this one, but any kind of op-amp that you might be using. It is no good. So basically what I did is I modified this X Duo. I cut a little hole in the top and extended the op-amp socket up so that I could put this in here. I'm probably going to take a little piece of like aluminum or something and maybe like fold it over the top. Just make a little, make it nice. Any case. Now, why am I talking about this? So there's this guy on YouTube named Cheap Audio Man, and he was talking about how you can buy yourself a cheap Chinese, it's like an amplifier for speakers, like big speakers, but it's, like, I don't know, I forget the wattage, 30 or 50 watts or something, but it has two op-amp sockets, and he was talking about how you could replace the op-amps with some Sparkos. Now, they're the lower end ones are the ones I have right here, but you could put those in there, and then you could, achieve a much better sound on that little Chinese amplifier. In fact, he said it would match amplifiers in the $1,000 range. And, in general, I would say that those type of statements are hyperbolic. However, I actually own this thing, and I've owned it for a while. So when that actually had this like clickbait headline, it was like, upgrade your, I forget. It was just total clickbait, and I was like, yeah, I wonder what this guy's talking about. Clicked it, and it's like, oh, he's talking about Sparkos op-amps. Well, in that case, this is legit. Anyways, shout out to Cheap Audio Man, killer dude, man. I've been trying to hype these things for a while, but the problem is when I bought this, you'd have to solder it all together, and then, I can't ask people to do that, and I'm not doing it for people, so Anyways, I've got this. Let me just pull this up. Oh, where'd you go, baby? There we go. All right, we're over here. So this is the Sparkos SS2590 PRO discrete op-amp, arguably one of the best measuring op-amps in the entire universe, well, this world. And but its pins, its socket is for a like $1 million mixing console that you might find in a high-end studio that would be used to mix multiple tracks, master studio albums. Also, these would be used for live sound in huge venues. In any case, they'd be one of these op-amps per channel in a mixing console. So for a stereo setup like so, you need two. And so we scroll down, and I could pull up some measurements. It probably won't mean much to anybody, but basically these things rate as good as anything else in the entire universe, essentially. So if we move on, when I first put mine together, we needed this little socket adapter thing, and the long story short, it didn't exist for a few years. Finally, Andrew made one, and now you can take this Pro op amp and stick it in a normal type audiophile device that might take op amps and has a socket for it. It's called a DIP 8. That is this, and that is this socket adapter thing right here. Any case, moving on. Right, so for the X Duo, you would require to be using a few, probably 3 to 4 of these extenders to extend the socket up. Now there's a capacitor in the way in the stock format, so you'd have to get above that. In any case, this you would need this to do that, 4 of these. Like I said, I pulled the cover off mine, and I would, mount this for months and months, and I decided that I hated it, so I cut a hole with a Dremel tool, and that looked like, by the way, that's the X Duo, $290. Wow, I bought it for $260. So I cut a hole with a Dremel tool in the top of the X Duo and put those extenders in there, put a little foam thing around that so it kind of like protect it. And it looks like that in the end. Yeah, these op amps are huge, and they really don't fit in a lot. There's a Burson V6 up above it for scale comparison. Ended up with something like this. Like I said, I'm going to make a little aluminum cover for this guy, just kind of go over the top, make it look all pretty. Why am I talking about this? And this Cheap Audio Man, he brought this up, and the answer is this little rig right here. So, the Sparkos op amp combined with the X Duo is a fantastic device if you just plug into the headphone out. But if you plug into the Aoun B1S right here, that levels this thing up. It almost like magnifies its qualities. And you might ask, well, like what qualities are those? And the Sparkos has this amazing ability to be extremely musical, but also extremely high fidelity. It has an incredible amount of detail. If you haven't heard op amps, we'll just put it like this. It's unforgiving in the respect that it has all of everything, all the stage, all the treble, all the mids. They are organic, big, bold, everything you'd want to say, all the buzzwords. It's got all of that. It doesn't have anything lacking. Whereas if I talked about, say, like the Muses O2 op amp, I would say that's, I don't know, closer to maybe like a tube amp, not quite, but so that has like a little bombastic bass. The mids will peak a little bit, and not peak, but they give you a little bit extra mids, and the treble's probably rolled off. That's probably the Muses O2, which is quite musical in a lot of cases. However, for this, the X Duo has no compromises. So you run that through the X Duo, the Sparkos. You run that through the X Duo, and you get a no compromises sound. Now, if you run that through the Aoun, you get a more forgiving, musical, rich, organic. The mid-range is absolutely incredibly emotional. It's just the best thing I've ever heard in my entire life. And honestly, so this is my best rig, and that's why I'm bringing it up today. In case anyone cares, you'd want to put this guy on medium gain at about right here. This little like a little divot right here in the volume knob, and you want to put that about like even with this like screw sort of, and that would volume match relatively okay to the line out on the back of this, which is not in fact using the op amp. It uses a Cirrus Logic DAC on the line out. For a long time, months and months, I used the line out with the Aoun, and it sounds fantastic. And then finally I'm like, oh, I looked up the circuit, and it's like, oh yeah, the Sparkos isn't actually in line with that circuit. So how would I do that? Oh, I'll just plug it into the headphone jack. And so I decided to volume match. It's like gain staging, we call it, sort of, kind of. And just medium gain right about there. Aoun, that allows you to use the entire, like, volume scale of the knob, shall we say. And in the end, this is absolutely my best rig ever for almost all my headphones. I have a Burson Playmate 2, which actually with the, these are the Dark Magicians, my favorite, just about my favorite headphone ever. One dynamic driver, but with the Burson, they are absolutely incredible. So the Burson's never going anywhere. you know, the synergy with these guys is just incredible. Also with this stack here, it's amazing as hell. I haven't actually really A/B'd it because I love them so much. This with most of my balanced armature sets, my tribrids, it's just, oh. So I just want to bring that up. Cheap Audio Man, thanks for bringing this up. I've been trying to hype this, but, you know, at this point, people could maybe buy this and put it in something if you get some adapters or, you know, something. This is my particular stack for this, but I can't recommend it more. Does it beat the Burson? In general, it does, actually. It beats it in all metrics. It's just like a deeper, more bombastic, bouncy sound with rich organic mids and, you know, treble that twinkles and pops out at you, but it doesn't do it in a bad, you know, uninspiring way. It's just all just amazing. So Sparkos SS2590 PRO op amp. Get you some. Right on, folks. Talk to you on the next one.